We have the Carolina Panthers taking on the Buffalo Bills. This is your Week 8, 2025 prediction and preview video. Let's get straight into it with the home team here, the Carolina Panthers. This team has been on a roll as of late. They've won their last 3 games, and on top of that, they are undefeated at home. So they're carrying over a lot of momentum right now, and they're coming off a strong win last week over the New York Jets. They won this matchup 13-6. Bryce Young was 15-25. 138 passing yards, 1 passing touchdown, 0 interceptions. What is unfortunate for Bryce Young in this matchup, he went down with an ankle injury. He will not play in this matchup against the Buffalo Bills. They return to Andy Dalton, who was 4-7 last week for 60 passing yards. And Andy Dalton came in last year and he gave this team a boost. He gave them a spark that they needed. Let's not forget they benched Bryce Young at the beginning point of last season. Andy Dalton came in against the Las Vegas Raiders, had 3 passing touchdowns to 0 interceptions. And you may say, well, he's 1-5 as a starter with the Carolina Panthers, but it's not all on Andy Dalton. The defense was not the same. The defense now is significantly better, and the team on the offensive end is significantly better as well. You don't need Andy Dalton to go out there and have 3 passing touchdowns in this matchup against the Buffalo Bills. They are a very good passing defense. You don't want to place Andy Dalton into a tough situation. He's a veteran quarterback. He knows the system very well. He's very accurate. As long as his offensive line can hold up for him, he will be fine. But Andy Dalton is not the biggest key here. The biggest key here for the Carolina Panthers, and this has been the case all season long, run the football. The Buffalo Bills are 32nd and rushing defense. That's dead last in the NFL by a margin. While the Carolina Panthers are 3rd in rushing offense, Rico had 2 phenomenal games back-to-back against the Miami Dolphins, 200 yards from scrimmage, and the same against the Dallas Cowboys, his former team. And last week, he had yet another strong outing. In this matchup against the New York Jets, 17 carries for 79 rushing yards. That's 4.6 yards a carry. And Chuba Hubbard, he was fully healthy last week. 14 carries, 31 rushing yards. You split the workload between the two. Now, if Rico's going out there and he's having a better day, you give him more carries in this matchup. But you live off those running backs in this game. You force the Buffalo Bills to sell out to stop the run. Then you can take those one-on-one shots on the outside to Teteroa McMillan, and the same with Jalen Coker, who is a very good wide receiver. Even though he played last week, 2 targets, 0 catches, but we know that he can be a very good player in this system with the Carolina Panthers based off of last season. And Xavier Legette, I'll give him some credit here. 9 catches, 92 receiving yards, 1 receiving touchdown. He got things going last week in a big way. So you feed the hot hand here, but you work off the run game and use time of possession to your advantage. And I'm not going to come on here and act like Bryce Young has been a top quarterback in the NFL. He's worked within the system. He's worked off the run game. Similar situation here with Andy Dalton. But you can get some favorable matchups on the outside with Teteroa McMillan. He has been a very good player this season with the Carolina Panthers. Feed him in those short yardage situations, and the same with Xavier Legette. If he can catch the football, that's amazing in the open space. And he's done a better job of that over the last couple of weeks since he's returned from that hamstring injury. But now you see the Carolina Panthers get stronger at the wide receiving position. They also have Jimmy Horn. They've ran a lot of jet sweeps with Jimmy Horn behind the line of scrimmage here. And that opens up creases for those running backs in space. You keep the Buffalo Bills honest. You get this defense off balance, then you just go straight up the middle with Chuba Hubbard, and the same with Rico. And when you look at the offensive line here with the Carolina Panthers, it's a top offensive line in football in general. But Ickey has been a very good tackle this season. Damian Lewis, he's been phenomenal. Cade Mays has been a huge reason to why this run game has gotten better over the last few weeks. Being at the center position, Brady Christensen has been a very good right guard since Robert Hunt went down with his injury, and Taylor Moton has been a very good right tackle. And let's not forget, against the Dallas Cowboys, Taylor Moton missed that matchup and they were still moving people off the ball. Look at what the Atlanta Falcons did against the Buffalo Bills in that matchup. They ran the football over and over again. And we've seen the Buffalo Bills struggle against the run this season against teams like the Miami Dolphins and the same against the Atlanta Falcons. Replicate that same game plan as long as Andy Dalton can keep the passing game on schedule, and I expect for him to do so. He's a veteran quarterback. Had a lot of good moments last year with Carolina. All he has to do is just take care of the football. That's it. You play on schedule, you work off the run game, you feed those open wide receivers, you'll be fine. Defensively speaking here for the Panthers, the defense has been so good this season, and it has been very consistent against tough teams. They made Justin Fields' life a living hell. And I know what a lot of people may say. It's Justin Fields. It's the New York Jets. They're the worst team in the NFL. But they kept him in check behind the line of scrimmage. This is the same defense that gave Tua and the Miami Dolphins a lot of problems in the second half when they went down 17-0. And on top of that, they gave Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys a lot of problems in the second half of that matchup as well. When you face this Buffalo Bills team, they love to run the football. They're first in rushing offense with James Cook. But over the last 2 weeks before the bye week hit for the Buffalo Bills here, the New England Patriots made sure that he was a non-factor. And the same with the Atlanta Falcons. You take away that run game. And when you look at the Panthers here, they're 8th in rushing defense in general, but at home, they have the 5th best rushing defense. Stop the run game with Josh Allen and the same with James Cook and send in that blitz. And I know I'm saying blitz, one of the best quarterbacks in the game, but hear me out. Look at what the Patriots did. Look at what the Atlanta Falcons did. They don't have that home run hitter at the wide receiving position. And you can get physical with these wide receivers and these tight ends in space. You put enough pressure on Josh Allen, you force him to have those turnovers. And that has been a problem with Josh Allen over the last 2 weeks before the bye week here. And J.C. Horn had 2 beautiful interceptions last week. Now, the Buffalo Bills, they don't have that true number 1 wide receiver that stands out. So J.C. Horn, he can float around. But at the same time, the players on the back end, they have to be on their A game. Personally, I'm looking out for Lathan Ransom to take away those tight ends, to take away someone that can go out there and that can wreck the game, like Dalton Kincaid, and the same with Dawson Knox, who are 2 very good tight ends in this league. Dalton Kincaid is questionable for this lineup when they face the Carolina Panthers here. But Lathan Ransom has been a very good safety across the middle of the field, taking away those end breakers and taking away those tight ends over and over. And Trayvon Mooring, he's a very good safety as well. So you have a lot of good players on the back end of this defense, but it starts with J.C. Horn. And Mike Jackson, don't sleep on him. He's a solid number 2 cornerback. J.C. Horn gets a lot of love, but Mike Jackson has had some good moments this season and last season with the Carolina Panthers. The one thing that does concern me in this matchup with Carolina is their edge rushers. Can you put enough pressure on Josh Allen without sending in the blitz? He's an annoying quarterback to go against for this reason. He'll scramble around, break down your defense on the back end. If you can't put consistent pressure on him with just a general pass rush, you may be in some trouble. They need more out of Princely, who is their rookie, and the same with Nick. I know that's asking a lot out of those players, and the same with DJ Wonnum, but they have to step up in this matchup. And Derrick Brown, he's the definition of a complete game record. You guys know how I feel about Derrick Brown. He's one of the best players at his position in the NFL at stopping the run and at the same at generating pass rush. He eats up double teams. And part of the reason why the run game has been so good this season, part of the reason why the defense has been so good against the run this season for the Carolina Panthers has been because of Derrick Brown. He missed majority of last season dealing with a knee injury. But they need this front 7 to be better in terms of pass rushing and taking away James Cook in this matchup. But the only thing that bothers me here for the Carolina Panthers would be the pass rush. But Bobby Brown, Derrick Brown, all those players in the front 7 against the run, they have been phenomenal over the last couple of weeks. And I have to give them their credit there. Now let's talk about Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. Entering this matchup against the Carolina Panthers, they currently have a 4-2 record. And it's important to bring this up. They're also on a 2-game losing streak. But at the same time, they're coming off a much-needed bye week. And usually, when teams have a head coach like Sean McDermott, it's a good chance that they win the game after their bye week. But it's not for certain here. The first note here for the Buffalo Bills, you have to get James Cook involved early and often in this matchup. I'm not saying that James Cook has to have 150 rushing yards in this game against the Carolina Panthers. That would be tough. But check this out. Against the New York Jets, they won this matchup 30-10. James Cook had 132 rushing yards in this matchup, 6 yards per carry, 2 rushing touchdowns. Against the Miami Dolphins, they won this game 31-21. James Cook, 108 yards rushing, 6 yards a carry once again, 1 rushing touchdown. Against New Orleans Saints, they won this matchup 31-19. James Cook, 117 rushing yards, 5 yards a carry, 1 rushing touchdown. But in the last 2 weeks against the Patriots, 49 rushing yards, 3 yards to carry on 15 attempts. And against the Atlanta Falcons, he did have 87 rushing yards, but he was a non-factor in the first half. The reason why I'm saying get James Cook involved, it makes life easier for everyone on the offensive end. The Atlanta Falcons made him a non-factor. They blitzed Josh Allen and they played press coverage with those wide receivers. We all know that it's wide receiver by committee with the Buffalo Bills. They have good players, don't get me wrong, but you're forcing Josh Allen to be the leading rusher yet again, and you're forcing Josh Allen to be Superman. This is not sustainable every single week. Now, with them coming off the bye week, it may be hit different this time around. But I look at it from this standpoint. If you can get James Cook involved, even as a receiver coming out of the backfield, that would definitely help you out. Test these linebackers out in space and see if you can have success that way. But you have to help out Josh Allen in this matchup with the run game if you are Joe Brady, the offensive coordinator for the Buffalo Bills. They have one of the best offensive lines in the NFL in terms of pass blocking. So you'll be fine there. I mentioned the struggles with the Carolina Panthers and their pass rushers. They're not known to go back there and get to the quarterback on a consistent basis, but they can send some blitzes your way. But those wide receivers, they have to step up. Khalil Shakir is the most consistent wide receiver inside the slot. You're not going to have J.C. Horn guard him inside the slot, so he's going to have 5 yards to work with. Most teams, they don't press wide receivers in the slot anyway. That's just unrealistic. So feed him in this matchup. But they need more out of Keon Coleman on the outside. If Dalton Kincaid is able to play in this matchup, they should be able to feature him. He's been a leading wide receiver in a game this season at the tight end position. And Joshua Palmer, he's out for this game. They don't have that deep threat that could constantly go out there and make you pay over and over again. Curtis Samuel can give you some electric plays going deep, but it's every now and then. They can also use him in certain jet sweeps and certain motions against the Carolina Panthers front seven. But you have to get James Cook involved. And Josh Allen here, he has to do a better job of taking care of the football. Against the New England Patriots, he had a fumble, he had an interception. That's 2 total turnovers on the day. And they had 11 penalties as a team. That is rare for a Sean McDermott coach team. Against the Atlanta Falcons, 2 interceptions, 8 penalties. They have to do a better job once again with those penalties on the offensive end, with holdings, with false starts. Be more in sync on the offensive end and help out your quarterback in Josh Allen. But they should give him enough time inside the pocket. You just have to wear down the secondary of the Carolina Panthers and make those plays in space. If those wide receivers can break a bunch of tackles in space like Khalil Shakir has done in the past, and the same with Keon Coleman, you'll be solid in this matchup. But my fear is that the Carolina Panthers will take away James Cook and he may make this team one-dimensional. And you don't want to test out the secondary over and over again with the Carolina Panthers. If you have to, you want to go across the middle of the field, away from Lathan Ransom, but more so underneath towards the linebackers. Christian Roseboom in space, who's had some good moments over the last couple of weeks, but early on in the season, he had a lot of bad moments over and over again, especially as a run defender and also in pass coverage. So you can live by your tight ends in this matchup with Dalton Kincaid and the same with Dawson Knox if your wide receivers can't get open constantly. But I expect for the wide receivers to do some damage in this matchup opposite side of J.C. Horn. But the biggest thing here, who will be that weapon that will step up in this matchup? And we know that Josh Allen, he can take away, he can use his legs. But the Carolina Panthers have been tough against rushing quarterbacks as well. But it is Josh Allen. So get him involved with his legs, and the same with James Cook. You really want to try to break the rushing defense of the Carolina Panthers. That's the key here. It's going to be tough, but you have one of the best offensive lines in football to do so. Get those guys going downhill and don't give up on the run game and keep this team honest. And if the run game does stagnate, use those underneath passes over and over again to substitute for the lack of a rush. That is what most teams have done this season. Now, when you talk about the defense here for the Buffalo Bills, they don't have a bad front. Ed Oliver is one of the best defensive tackles in the game. He's a game wrecker. The same way I was saying Derrick Brown can go out there, he can stop the run, he can get to the passer. Ed Oliver can do the same thing. He has been a phenomenal defensive tackle with the Buffalo Bills since they drafted him many years ago. He did miss some action this season. He hurt his ankle in practice a few weeks ago, but he was able to go against the Atlanta Falcons. He has to be the key here to slow down that rushing attack with Chuba Hubbard, and the same with Rico. You want to make that run game a non-factor in this matchup if you are the Buffalo Bills. You want to cater to your strengths here. You want them to go out there and pass the football as much as possible. You want to keep Andy Dalton off balance and you want to take advantage of some of those plays on the back end. Andy Dalton last season had 7 passing touchdowns to 6 interceptions. Now, you can make the case you're a Panthers fan. They had to play a different style of offense last year because they were trying to go back and crawl back into games. But this is what you want the Panthers to do if you're a Buffalo Bills fan here. You want them to play from behind. You want to force Andy Dalton to throw them back into the matchup over and over again. And those players on the back end, they can take advantage with some of those key takeaways like Tre'Davious White, the same with Christian Benford and Teron Johnson. This is a top passing defense in football, but the rushing defense hasn't been there. And you have a lot of injuries on your defense right now. Terrell Bernard, he's questionable for this matchup. We'll see if he'll be able to play. He's dealing with an ankle injury, but they need him in this game. He's been more so of a pass covering linebacker than a run stopper. He needs to be better against the run. Matt Milano has missed the last couple weeks dealing with a pec injury. He's questionable for this game. If he's not able to play, they have Shaq Thompson. And Shaq Thompson is a former linebacker with the Carolina Panthers. A very good linebacker, by the way. He almost had an interception a couple of weeks ago against Michael Penix Jr. If he came away with that interception, it may go for a pick 6. And we're talking about a different situation here. But you have to cash in on some of those turnovers in this matchup when given the opportunity. But Greg Rousseau, AJ Epinesa, and Joey Bosa, they're going to be a key here. They can get to the pass on a consistent basis. We know that Joey Bosa can. He's been one of the best edge rushers in the game this season. But they need them to be better against the run. And it's more so their linebackers than their defensive ends and their defensive tackles. But the secondary play, they're solid there. I think that they'll be fine in this matchup going against Tetairoa McMillan and the same with Jalen Coker. I'm not saying that the secondary is going to go out there. They're going to shut down those wide receivers or of the Panthers. But Sean McDermott has done a very good job in the pass against wide receivers this season. I still would not leave T-Mac on the island, because he is a game record. With the size and the speed that he has, you give him a 50-50 ball, it's more so 95-5, pardon me. He can go out there and he can come down with the football in a lot of tough situations. But I look at the Bills at this standpoint. You have this offense, wide receiver by committee. You can give the Carolina Panthers a lot of problems. It's just a rushing defense here with the Buffalo Bills. With all that being said, I know the popular pick right now is to go with the Buffalo Bills and to go with Josh Allen. But with the Panthers being undefeated at home, I feel like they'll get a boost from the quarterback position with Andy Dalton. He's not going to have those turnover moments like Bryce Young has had this season, even though Bryce Young has played better over the last couple of games. I'm going to take the Carolina Panthers to win this game, but it will be close. And have the Carolina Panthers win this matchup 24-21. But let me know in the comment section below, who do you have taking this matchup? The Carolina Panthers or the Buffalo Bills? If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, want each and every last one of you guys stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for the video, guys. God bless.